All right, welcome to Connect and Politic. Uh, as we're getting into this, can you please introduce yourself by telling us your name, where you're currently located, and your favorite snack?
Oh gosh. I am Patrice. I'm currently located in New York City. My favorite snack is I love anything fruity and light. So like frosties or like smoothies. Like I'm always down for something like that, something refreshing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not the actual fruit, but like a concoction.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
like a nice blended ice something.
Got it.
Yeah.
What's your fondest memory from childhood?
Oh gosh. One of my fondest memories from childhood. Um, it's it's a memory that makes me laugh. I remember one time being frustrated with my parents and me and my brother, I was like, we're gonna run away. I'm gonna run away. And my mom was like, yeah, okay. And at the time we were living in this house and we lived on the second floor and my grandmother lived on the first floor. So I packed up all my stuff and I went downstairs to my grandmother's house. And in like within an hour, my mom came and I was like, what? How did you find me? And of course, my mom was like, you went to the most obvious place. And of course, my grandmother snitched on me. Um, but when I think about it, it just makes me smile because I thought I knew something about the world, but I
Yeah,
knew like 10 feet of the world.
yeah.
Uh,
That's a great story, actually. Well, that's really good. So how do you think your childhood
mhm.
uh, has helped you turn into who you are as a person today?
Um, I will say one of the things that I think really affected me is a sense of sort of I was the oldest. I'm not only am I the only child of my parents, but I'm also the oldest grandchild on my mom's side.
Okay.
And so I was really brought up with a sense of like responsibility and sort of leadership. And I think for a long time, especially when you're like in high school and you're sort of coming into your own, I often kind of battled that because I was sort of groomed that way, it came second nature, but I also kind of resented being expected to like help babysit the kids or
Mm.
like I remember my dad wanted me to give my brother an allowance because I because I started working first and I was like, what? But that's how my dad grew up. Like if you're the oldest and you kind of become like that secondary like parental figure.
Yeah.
Um anyway, but in my adult life, I've parlayed that into obviously in my professional career, it kind of it's kind of like I don't know, people kind of look to me as a sense with this sense of authority, even though I'm not always their boss, but people are
Mm.
like, Patrice, you know what you're talking about, and or you sound like you know what you're talking about. And I think it is from that I sort of am somebody that's able to sort of step into things and be proactive, and get out in front of things. And to be honest, I like being somebody that people feel like they can depend on.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's good. Responsibility. Um, what's something in your life that you're not willing to live without?
um Space and me time. So kind of the flip side of what I just said is because I had to be all those things to so many people, I often didn't have that. And so moving away and going to college and having that separation from family and being more independent really made me be like, oh, I like having alone time. And
Mm.
I like not, running errands for people and things like that. And now I realize too that it's such a part of the things that I need. So um I always say that there's some people who get energy from like constant interaction, right? Like I have a lot of friends who are like, I need to have a book schedule every day. I need to be talking to people. I need to be connecting with people.
Mm.
And I always say I'm kind of like, the video game, how you start off with 3 lives. Like that's me. Like everything costs something, and then I need to go back to center so that I can give again.
so, so, so do you start out with 3 lives in the morning, and
Yeah,
then as the day
yeah,
goes on?
yeah. And then the afternoon, I'm like, okay, I need to like recoup. But that's something I know about myself. And I remember I said this to one of my friends, and she was like, that explains so much, because there are times where I'll be like, okay, Sunday is there's a no tech zone. So I'm turning my phone off for X amount of hours, and I'm just going to do what I want to do, whatever that is. Take a
Uh,
nap, watch an old movie that I've been wanting to watch,
yeah,
do a puzzle. So yeah, that's one thing I can't live without is me time.
great segue. What's your favorite thing to do for self-care?
Oh, what is my favorite thing to do for I've come to really like massages. um I like doing nothing, to be honest. I like I'll watch like I have this long list of all these movies that are sort of in the canon of classics that I'm always trying to like dig into. Um,
Mm.
and I'll just watch a really, really old movie that's like the tech when the tech was so bad and like but yeah, just like sitting and being. And from time to time I'll meditate a little bit, depending on how I'm feeling. I found recently that that really helps with stress. So
Meditation. What do you do in your professional life, and how did you get to where you are?
right now I work at an ad agency. I started off on what in our business we called the publisher side. So I worked with a lot of magazines and stuff that were actually producing content, doing market research. And maybe 2016, um, I lost my job at the times, and I was like, okay, this is a pivotal moment. I was like, I felt like the last of my friends who had never been laid off before. I was like, everybody has experienced this but me. And I didn't really know what to do. And I was like, okay, I can either use this opportunity to kind of reset and think about what I want to do moving forward, or kind of, look at this as the huge inconvenience that it was at the time. And I decided I was going to like, um, sort of just, that's when I just started applying to all kinds of jobs, like jobs that I didn't even think I would get or that I was qualified for, but I had a lot of really interesting conversations. And I ended up at this ad agency. It's kind of, I would say it's small to mid-size, but it's part of a larger conglomerate. So we kind of operate kind of like a startup inside of a big kind of corporate entity. And it's been crazy. It's so dynamic, but it's kind of the new energy that I needed. And yeah, so I started doing market research there, and recently I started doing new business, which I never thought I would do. Because I always said to myself, I'm not a salesperson, but I kind of put myself out there and was involved in a lot of big presentations, and a lot of people saw and they were like, Patrice, you're like really good at this, like, you know our business well, like, would you ever join the new business team? And so that was another sort of pivot I had to think about, like, do I want to do this is entirely different, right? So I'm just going to be out there like talking to people all the time, and doing some type of sales, which I always said I wouldn't do. And so far I really like it. I like being in the room strategizing. I like being away from the minutia of the day-to-day stuff that I was doing with research. um, and I like focusing on big picture ideas.
Mm.
So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Nice. What's the riskiest thing you've done in your professional career?
Ooh. Mm, I think switching to this job felt really risky to me for a lot of reasons. One, I never transferred internally before, so I didn't know how the politics of that would work. I've always just left a job to an entirely different job, right? So
Mhm.
I was really wanting to handle it delicately, like not wanting to burn any bridges. Like, how do I communicate to my old team? Also, this is something I've never done before, right? So I've been doing research for like 10 years or something like that. Um, what if I'm not good at it, right? And ultimately, what I decided is that what I know is what I know. And the worst thing that could happen is, oh, I might not like this, but I could always go back to the thing that I'm really, really good at.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, that was a lot of conversation and consultation about the sort of inner workings of like, how do I tell my boss that like I love the team I'm on, but I want to do something different? And
Mhm.
um actually what ended up happening was all of the stuff that I was worried about was a moot point because she already knew that they had poached me for the position, and was in full support of it. She actually was upset I didn't tell her sooner because she
Yeah.
was like, I could have like took that pressure off of you early. But yeah, that felt very risky to me.
Yeah, that's you know, so much of our lives is we're stuck in our head, like it's just
Mhm.
right here. And a lot of times, uh, you know, so for instance, I mean, you know this, but everyone that know me know, like, I don't have anxiety or depression, all these kind of issues. And
Yeah,
people say, "Oh, Mike, you're always laughing at different things."
yeah,
Um, it's because I try to not have um, like to not get stuck in my head, right?
yeah,
Like, so the my interactions with people are as present as it could possibly
yeah.
be.
Good
And
for you.
no, I know how difficult it is. Like, I
Yeah,
realize, like, for a lot of people, they're constantly, and most of the times, if you just talk to somebody, you just tell them, and they'll be like, "Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's easy." Um, so yeah, what's one thing that you would like or love to learn that you haven't gotten a chance to yet?
hmm. I don't. I feel like there was one thing that I didn't know how to do. That's hard. I'm gonna say the thing that I'm learning to do that I
Mhm,
previously always said I don't know how to do, I don't know if I could ever do, and that's forgiveness.
mhm,
Um, that is something that's eluded me for a long time, and I feel like in the past, year and a half or 2, I turned the corner. Um, and how I explain that is not in the sort of like, I'm gonna pay this person back or think about this all night long, not that sort of thing, in a way where I would sort of just cut it off. Like I would just like completely just like abandon a situation or a person without really processing anything or leaving room for redemption. I would just be like, oh, that's how you are, or that's how this is. I'm not going to deal with it.
mhm,
And I realized that kind of by treating everything that way, um, I was missing a lot of learning lessons. And so, yeah, that's something that I've always sort of wanted to work on is like being able to like fully process something. Obviously, that doesn't mean that like if I forgive a situation that you have to sort of welcome those encounters back into your life, but um, at least it creates a peace for me. So,
mhm.
yeah,
Hmm. That's interesting.
yeah.
Um, well, it may coincide actually. This next question, which is, can you think of any advice that you would give your younger self?
Hmm, so much. I think the one thing I would tell my younger self is that it's like it's gonna work out. Like you know what you're doing, it's gonna work out. I think when you're young and uh and even a little bit ambitious, you really spend a lot I spend a lot of time thinking about and planning for things like how I need to get into a good school and I'm gonna do this and I gotta and don't get me wrong, I definitely had a lot of fun in that. I am grateful for that. I wasn't that I did have some balance. But I did spend a lot of time ruminating about like, well, by the time I turn 21, this is how life should be. Like at like 15, like I just thought I knew what all those touch points were supposed to look like.
Uh,
And yeah, I spent too many hours thinking about those things when I really needed to just like trust the process.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
so the advice would be to trust the process.
Yeah, trust the pro you like you got this. Like you're
Yeah,
gonna be fine. Like that's what I would tell myself. You're gonna be fine.
that's good.
Yeah.
Um, would you even tell yourself your younger self when you were trying to run away from your mom? Like, would that be the same thing you tell that
What
person?
would I have told her? Yeah, I would have told my younger self, like, you don't know shit. I mean, it's so funny. I used to one of my aunts used to call me Miss Grown Butt, or and I was always very like precocious and yeah, I would have, yeah, at that my younger self, I would have told my younger self, you don't know anything. I was a smarty pants.
That's always that's that you just said is always interesting because every time you look back, at least for me,
Hmm.
um, that holds true.
Yeah.
Like so, if I remember when I was, 14 or a teenager or whatever, you think, whatever it is. And then,
Yeah.
or I thought I knew whatever it was. And then, in my early adult years, you think, and
Hmm.
then, you know, and it's so every time. So I'm saying to say that, even now, right? Like the things we think we know now,
Right. I'm
years from
gonna
now, we'll just be like,
no, yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. And even when I have a sister who is she just turned 22. She's graduating from FIT this year or eventually. They'll send
uh,
it in the mail. And I look at her and I just start laughing sometimes when she like comes to me with these dilemmas and these dramas.
yeah,
It's like I like my immediate reaction is like laughing, but then I try to like again, be present with her and take her.
yeah,
I remember how heightened all those little situations were when I was 21, 22. Just
yeah,
like all kinds of like boy drama, the friend drama is so crazy. And I'm just like, you are not gonna know these people. Like just oh the
yeah.
social
It's
stuff.
tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, what would you say is the toughest thing you've had to tackle, and what helped you get through it?
Toughest thing I had to tackle. Um, I think uh so when did I say the forgiveness things? Like, yeah, so the story about how I've been working on forgiveness is I actually decided to start therapy about over a year and a half ago.
Mm,
Um, and I just realized that there were things that I was not managing well. So I was not managing work pressure well. Um, there were family things going on. And I was like, I need to figure out how to sort of sort through all of these things without feeling like everything is on me right now and I need an answer right now.
mm,
And somebody that I know is like, hey, like I know, this network, if you want to like talk to a Black professional, because that was something that was also important to me. I was like, I don't want to just go talking to any random therapist. And I also, what also helped too is that I've kind of have always kind of been self-aware, and I felt like I started doing some of the work myself, but I also have a lot of friends. So I just so happen to have two very close friends who one is two are psychiatrists, and I have a friend who's a psychologist that works at a jail. Um, and so we would always have these really introspective conversations and stuff. And so I knew that it was something that I was open to and something that I could learn from. But I would say just making that decision to even seek out someone to talk to was probably one of the hardest things that I've probably done recently. But it's also been one of the most like profound, like, at least for me, I think for some people it takes a little bit longer to open up, but I was ready.
Mhm.
And I knew what I wanted to accomplish. And so it's been super, super, almost like immediately life changing for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
What would you, if you could spend some additional time with anyone, someone
Mhm.
dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Um, it would probably be, hmm, I think my grandmother. Um, and mainly because she died when I was in like, eh, was I seventh grade, eighth grade? And I didn't know all that I wanted to know about her. And so, just for context, her mother, my great grandmother, and I had another great grandmother, both lived well past 90. And so
Oh,
I got to ask them over the years as I grew up into an adult, um, a lot of questions about their history and their past and relationships and things like that. To varying success. One of my great grandmothers was very open and always talked about her childhood, and I actually got her on tape. Thanks. I remember talking to Marvin about her at some point, and he was like, "You should record her." Like, and I'm so glad that I did.
nice.
Um, and my other great grandmother, we would talk, but she never really wanted to look backward.
Yeah.
That being said, because my grandmother died young at like 56, there's a lot about her that I've only learned through other people after the fact. So, like, about her relationship with my grandfather, or um, all of the things she did, like professionally. Like, I knew when I was a kid that she worked in the school system, but I didn't also know that at one point when she was a teenager, she was a singer. Um, and my aunt is a great singer, and we always wondered where she got it from because
Hmm.
there's not a lot of singers in my family. Um, and so just finding that out was like, oh, it was like a direct.
Yep. Yep.
But I just never knew that. She never talked about it, and I never had the chance. I was too young to even care to ask that. So, yeah.
Yeah. If you won the lottery, to let's
Mhm.
say you won it tomorrow,
Yeah.
and who are some of the people you would give money to?
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Um, it's Actually, it's not a hard question to answer. I would give mother money to my brother, just to make sure that he sets up a good college fund for my niece. So it's kind of self-serving.
So it's really your niece that
Yeah,
you give the
but
money to.
she's only 8, so he has to have it. Um, and I would probably just make sure, obviously, that my parents are okay, pay off the last of my student loans. Um, and there's an organization that I currently work with that I'm super attached to that serves people who are elderly and shut in with HIV that I would definitely help. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And the final question is, how do you define success?
Hmm. my initial answer was contentment, but I don't think that's a natural state that anyone is ever in. Um, but I would say, but yeah, I would say some level of that, just like feeling. I mean, I think I have some of that now where I feel like I'm not really wanting for needing for anything, I should say. There's definitely a lot of things that I want. Um, but yeah, I think that's how I determine success is when I can look to the people around me and closest to me and myself and be like, okay, we're okay. Like, we're not starving, we're not destitute. No one's unhealthy or doing anything crazy. Like, to me, that's baseline success, and anything above that is just gravy.
Great, great. Well, we connected and we politic, and it was great. Um, so I'm gonna end the recording, and then we can continue.
Yeah.